I want to just very quickly start by offering an introduction to my close colleagues, Theresia Oedl-Wieser from the Bundesanstalt für Bergbauanfragen in Vienna, who's co-hosting with us. Also to Dr. Matt Reed from the Countryside and Community Research Institute, where I work in the UK. And the reason that the three of us have come together to organise this is because with several other of the presenters, Lisa and Kirsten as well, we're working on a Horizon project called Robust, which is about urban-rural synergies and includes work on circular business models, public infrastructure, ecosystems, food and culture. If you want to hear more about that, let us know. And we've posted some documents in the session pages to give you a little idea about what we're doing there. So before we speak, the session's divided into 4 presentations. And the way we've organized it, Yolanda, I can see you in front of me now prominently. I don't know if that means that you're designed to go first. It doesn't really matter who goes first.
No.
The way that we'd structured it really, and I hope you agree this is the logical way through it, is that first I was hoping to call on Lisa and Kirsten from the Styrian team. They'll be discussing the Akzente Handwerker initiative in Styria, which offers employment opportunities to women in rural areas. So we're starting really from that SME basis, perhaps. And then after that, I was hoping Sophie and Theresia would go next to talk about the Grüne Erde story, which started as an enterprise in the 80s, but has grown to a substantial international concern. And I thought that they could, even though they're both Austrian cases, I thought they fit very well together because they are both examples that emphasize sort of the material resource aspect of circular economy, but also important social and gendered aspects of circular business models. So after those two, we'll move to Jitendra, if that's possible, thirdly, who's going to take us into the food arena much more specifically, and recalling also their themes of practical resource circuits from rather different angles, and emphasizing also issues of the common good, which are common themes in circular economy discourse. And then lastly, and not least, Yolanda's presentation offers us some great insights, I think, from the city regional policy perspective. And this has been a theme that's begun to emerge again and again throughout the day today. Earlier on in the plenary session, we heard from Margit about how, we really need to make sure that transition partnerships are not the only way that sustainable transition for urban rural areas is taking place, but also that they reach into policy. And we heard that as well from Stephanie Wunder in the food session just earlier on before the coffee break. So I think Yolanda will offer us a really nice perspective on how the circular economy is integrated in city regional policy approaches. Yeah. So the format is 15 minutes each, more or less. There are only 4 speakers, so we have plenty of time. I don't think we'll be terribly strict with the timekeeping, but do try, if you can, to stick to 15 minutes. And then after each contribution, we'll allow just a couple of minutes for questions of clarification, not sort of substantive questions. Save those for the discussion that we'll leave till right at the end. So with further ado, can I please welcome Kirsten from the Styrian team very warmly to give your presentation, please.
Oh, okay. So can you see the presentation?
Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon and welcome to this presentation about a local good practice example of social innovation, social enterprise and circular economy in the metropolitan area of Styria. My name is Lisa Bauchinger and I work at the Federal Institute of Agricultural Economics, Rural and Mountain Research in Vienna, and I will present together with my colleague Kerstin Hasecker-Nestelberger from the Regional Management of the Metropolitan Area of Styria in Graz. Like Dan mentioned, we work both. Is it possible to mute the other microphone? Okay. Yeah, we work together in the current EU project. Sorry, Dan or Anna?
Hi, Lisa.
Is it possible to mute the other?
Yeah, we've muted almost everybody else.
Because I hear an echo or voices. Okay, thank you. Yeah, like Dan mentioned, we work in the current EU project, Robust, where Kerstin and her colleagues practice partner, and my colleagues and I participate as the scientific partner. The metropolitan area of Styria was chosen as one of the case study regions within the project, but more on that a bit later. Our presentation is basically divided into 3 parts. I will start by defining 3 concepts relevant to our project. Then I will shortly present the current EU project Robust. Kerstin will then continue to present the case study region and the good practice example, and at the end I will summarize the results of the project. The modern economic system and its profiting maximizing enterprises in the ordinary course of business is more and more criticized due to waste of resources, increasing social disparities, and many more. However, in the last decade, a new generation of businesses has emerged where maximizing profits is not the primary objective, but the solution to a social problem. Social entrepreneurship is a business model that is gaining increasing attention and offers a real alternative for the future. Social entrepreneurs manage the balancing act between entrepreneurial thinking and social added value. Therefore, the underlying drive for social entrepreneurship is the creation of social value as opposed to personal or shareholder wealth. Social innovation is often created within this social entrepreneurship and can be defined as the reconfiguring of social practices in response to societal challenges, which seeks to enhance outcomes on societal well-being and necessarily includes the engagement of civil society actors. Unlike business innovations, which are driven by market and consumer needs, social innovations have a cultural focus, aspiring to address unmet human and social needs. Examples of social innovations to improve resource efficiency are public bookshelves, repair cafes, etc. And in the field of organic food and sustainable agriculture, community-supported agriculture or urban gardening, etc. can be named as examples. Last but not least, circular economy is a general term covering all activities that reduce, reuse, and recycle materials in production, distribution, and consumption processes. Furthermore, social embeddedness in all its diverse forms is crucial to the implementation of circular economy. Like Daniel already said, we all work in the current EU project Robust, which stands for Rural Urban Outlooks Unlocking Synergies. It involves altogether 24 project partners from 11 European countries, and scientists and practitioners work in living labs and investigate urban-rural linkages in 5 thematic areas. One of the thematic focus is new business models and labor markets. And innovative and sustainable business concepts inspire our discussion on the future economic development within the project. Experiences are exchanged among the European partners, and ideas for new alternative and sustainable business models have been developed. In Austria, the metropolitan area of Styria was chosen as Living Lab, and it connects Graz, the second biggest city in Austria, with 51 municipalities of the districts of Graz, Umgebung and Volzberg. The total population amounts to approximately 500,000 inhabitants and is with almost 38% the most populated region in Austria.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. I will give you now an introduction into the case study. And as Lisa mentioned, the region in which the example Akzente Handwerk is located is very heterogenic. The metropolitan area of Styria includes the Styrian capital city and also 51 peri-urban or rather rural municipalities in the two districts named Graz Umgebung and Volzberg. And the example Akzente Handwerk is located in the western part of the region in the capital town of the district of Volzberg, which is about 40 kilometers west of the city in Graz, and the district compares 15 rural municipalities. And as you can see on the map, which shows you the population forecast up to the year 2030, not all parts of our region benefit from the growth than the city of Graz. Especially in the western part of the region, since many years there has been a continuously loss of population, and there are also many daily commuters to the city of Graz. And also women in this western part of the region earn less on average than in the other parts of the metropolitan area. And the project Akzente Handwerk now specifically addresses these challenges in this part of the region. Let me give now with this slide a clear overview about the project aims of the example Akzente Handwerk. In summary, it can be said that the project products that are not longer used, like old clothes or plastics, get upcycled into new regional products. And at the same time, is it the aim to raise awareness of the regional economy circle and a responsible use of resources in general. In detail, the project achieves this by creating new jobs for 6 long-term unemployment women over 50 years. And these women were trained to sew by a master tailor, and she is also employed in the project Akzente Handwerk. And on the other hand, this compares from all over, and on the other hand, institutions from all over the region donate materials into new products. For example, the employees of the prison in Graz received new uniforms, and the fabric of these old uniforms were used to create, for example, the green bag you can see on the slide in the right corner. And also you can see other products, for example, pen rolls, or for example, some toys for children. And these are all things that are made out from recycling and upcycling products. And the idea for the whole project had the regional non-profit association Akzente, who is also implemented this project through public funding. And this is also the reason why the name of the project is Akzente Handwerk, because Akzente is the name of this non-profit association, which is located in the capital town, Volzberg. Lisa, can you please go to the next slide? Thanks. Yeah, and key element for circular economy in the project is also that the regional companies or institutions like the leader region often ask for specific products, for example, as Christmas gifts for their customers. And special products have already been worked out also, for example, together with regional schools. And another interesting example you can see on the slide, the so-called Agera products are motoric cushions for elderly people with dementia in geriatric care institutions. And they were worked out together with the representatives of the Association for People with Dementia and Akzente Handwerk. And these are just some of the new products out of the donated materials from the region. So yeah, to sum it up, in the project, new regional products are produced out of materials, and so the employees of the project upcycling them into new products. But now I will pass you over to my colleague Lisa. She will now speak about the impact of this good practice example. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Kerstin. I will now summarize briefly what we have looked at in the example by connecting it to the concepts mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. So social innovation results from new cooperation, such as with a school where pupils and students organize the design and the marketing of the product, as well as with the care institutions. The enterprise therefore succeeded in creating a network and establishing sustainable relationships within the region. The main goal of starting the business was to improve the labor market situation and thus to create new jobs within the regions and counteract out-migration. The goal was to enable long-term unemployed women to integrate to the labor market. And the further idea is to raise awareness of regional economic cycles and responsible use of natural resources. This happens due to the product itself, but also due to workshops and classes where the knowledge of and upcycling is shared. Therefore, the activities of the enterprise are oriented on the common goods, and we can speak of a social enterprise. The enterprise can be categorized within the concept of circular economy, like Kerstin said, due to recycled and upcycling of textiles, and the resources are returned to the local value chain. They are conserved and a closed value-added cycle is created. We can also find a rural-urban interaction within the project, since the clients of the product and cooperation partners are distributed over the district of Voitsberg, which consists of an urban core that is surrounded by rural areas. And there have as well been orderings from clients situated in the city of Graz. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, let us know.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Lisa and Kirsten. That was great. Thank you. And I know it's a very strange situation presenting like this. So what we're going to take is any questions for clarification now. And if you have any big questions of substance, then we will try and have a discussion at the end. So hold on to those questions, or perhaps pop them in the chat box. But I'm looking along for any reactions, and everybody seems to be very clear. That's fantastic. Okay, so then I believe it's Sophie next. So hopefully that's not taken it by surprise. So no, that's good. That's good. A smile and a confident look. What more could we ask for?
So I tried to share our slides. Do you do you see them?
Yeah.
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 Okay, fine. So hello, and Theresia and I, we would like to present together. So I think Theresia will start to tell us something about the idea behind this presentation.
Yes. Thank you, Matthew, for giving us the floor. Good afternoon and welcome to our presentation. At the beginning, I want I would like just to explain very briefly how we came to, we are dealing with the topic of 2 generations of eco-business pioneers. So at our institute, Sophia and I are working at the Federal Institute of Agricultural Economics, Rural and Mountain Research. We are conducting the project Women and Lively Rural Areas, and we are analyzing in this project how rural women deal with their everyday conditions and existing structural disadvantages in their region, and to what extent they are actively involved in entrepreneurship, social and rural innovation, as well as innovative regional development processes. And therefore, we have made interviews with women in the case study region Almtal, and among them were also the women from the small businesses Almgrün and Wildflori. And these women explained or have described their ways to sustainable entrepreneurship, and they told us also about their cooperation with one of the first eco-business pioneers in Austria, the Grüne Erde. So we thought that this would be an interesting view on circular economy in a mountain valley in Austria. Thanks.
So now on this slide, we want to show the structure of our presentation, in which we want to point out the influence of business models on regional transition. I will start with a few facts about the region, about the natural conditions, history and socio-economic situation. After that, we describe the business model of the Grüne Erde. And at the end, Theresia will present the next generation of eco-business pioneers. In this transition cycle, we want to show how the pioneer establishes his business, values and standards under regional conditions, and how they support the next generation through cooperation, networking, and knowledge transfer. This trend-setting business models increases the rural-urban connections, the attraction of the region, and they are an encouraging example for others. In this presentation, we refer on these 3 thematic approaches: circular economy, neo-endogenous development, and rural-urban linkages. I think they are very common for all of us, so I'm not going into details. We just put some definitions on there, but because of time, I will go on and give you a short introduction to the valley. You can see it here on this map, and the valley is named after the river Alm, and the river is starts here at it's the outflow of the Almsee. It's a mountain river, mountain lake, and the river is 48 kilometers go through the Almtal Valley to here to go to the Traun. It flows to the Traun, and the Traun flows to the Danube. And it's a dead-end valley. It goes to a mountain range. The highest mountain is 2,500 meters. And but it has a good connection to transport systems like 2 railroads, the A1 and the A9. And there is also a railroad from Wels, so the Almtalbahn. And because of this dead-end valley situation, parts of this valley has preserved in its traditional character. And there is also ecotourism. People come to recreate in nature, mostly Austrians, and also a tradition in forestry and wood processing. So this next slide shows the tradition in use of water power since the 15th century in this valley. So there was this size and sickle production, mills, sawmills, timber drifting and drafting, power plants. The first one was built in 1909, and now there are 60 small power plants supplying the region. And here on this slide, you can see the railroad. It's the station in Scharnstein. No. Oh. No. Next slide. Something is no. So, innovation, entrepreneurship, and trade has a long tradition in this region. A short example is the size production. At the end of the 19th century, Scharnstein became the center of industrial production of size. And a profound change from the old handicraft enterprises to modern and size sickle industry took place. While many small factories in Austria were not able to cope with these new industrial developments, the largest size company of the Austrian-Hungarian monarchy, called Rettenbacher, was established in Scharnstein, and they distributed their products worldwide. On the picture you can see these different sizes, and they had 100 different size models, and they exported them in 90 countries around the world. And this size industry had great influence and formed the economic, infrastructural, and cultural life, and became a factor for the region. And I want to mention two other companies in the region. It's Fronius, a photovoltaic manufacturer, and it was founded by a refugee in 1945, and now it's a global player with around 5,000 employees worldwide. And Wolf Systembau, it's also an innovative building system. It was also founded by a farmer in 1966. Now to the Grüne Erde company. This was founded in 1983 as an alternative ecological and social form of economic activity, as you can see here in Scharnstein. And in the first 10 years, this enterprise developed from a two-person adventure to a company with 100 employees and a turnover about 100 million shillings. It's about 7 million euros. And they started with the production of mattresses, and then they have expanded their product lines to modern wooden furniture, cosmetics, and clothes. 2018, a headquarter and visitor center of 9,000 square meters was built by crowdfunding. And 2019, around 500 people, 80% of them are women, work in production and sales and administration. And they have a distribution system. They distribute their products exclusively through these 14 stores in Germany and Austria, and through catalogs and online stores. And these stores are in main cities like Vienna, Munich, and so on. So they have a good connection to urban customers. It's a circular and common good economy. They only natural, renewable raw materials without petrochemical plastics, genetically manipulated substances, as they are really aware about the products they use for production. They have a lot of seals, like the goat since 2010 for their textiles. They use only wood from sustainable managed forestries, and they are independent from banks, and they build their stuff via crowdfunding. Their new projects, they realize them with crowdfunding. And here on this picture, you can see the Grüne Erde Welt, that's the world they call it, and it's the idea, or they think they have 70,000 visitors per year. Now with this new situation, it's less, but 1 year they almost had it. And there they have the production, and they also have show production for the visitors. They have a vegetarian and ecological bistro. They have an outdoor area where they grow, where there are vegetable gardens and greenhouses, and they offer events and guided tours. The building is energy neutral because of geothermal and solar energy. The fundament is recycled concrete because before there was a kitchen manufacturer, and they reuse this concrete. And yeah. Now, Theresia, maybe you would like to go on with the next generation of eco-business pioneers, please.
Yes, thank you, Sophie. At the beginning, I spoke about the cooperation between Grüne Erde and these two new eco-entrepreneurships. I want first introduce the two women from Almgrün. They are one returner into the region and one woman from Vienna. They studied both in Vienna and decided to come into the region, and they were very interested in ecological agriculture, and they tried to find some places for doing their micro farming. And at first they had some problems to find such fields, but then they got the possibility to use to lease fields from the Grüne Erde. It is in front of the venue there, and they can also use the greenhouses, and they are they have founded a community-supported agriculture, and they are producing fresh vegetable and organic vegetable for 70 families in the region. And they also produce flowers for the other entrepreneurs. I want to tell you. So Wildfleurie is a small business with a florist and a landscape planner. They also, one is a returner and one is a newcomer into the region. They they worked abroad. The florist was also in a tourism region in the western part of Austria, and gained many expertise in this floristic tasks. And the landscape planner worked for sometimes also for other companies, and then they decided to start their own company. And they have also very they want to produce only with regional and seasonal grown floral materials and wildflowers. And the two women from Almgrün are cultivating most of these flowers for them. And yes, they are growing step by step, both of these two businesses, and they want to don't want to produce waste, and they don't want to use pesticides and fertilizers. So they try to implement in their businesses this circular economy, and they are cooperating with many other partners around Austria and Europe, are exchanging knowledge, and we found that this is a very important aspect, this knowledge sharing and not this competition between the different businesses. The next slide, please. So we thought, what is the potential for transition of these 2 or 3 examples? So we think in case of circular economy that they try to have closed production cycles and don't want to produce much waste. They use regional and also sustainable materials or raw materials for their products, and they produce, in the case of Grüne Erde, durable products of high quality, and they have also repairing services so that the life of these products is very long. In case of the neo-endogenous development approach, we can see here a tradition in entrepreneurial spirit in the region, which is going back many centuries. There are some hidden champions in the region with European and global connections. There is a high qualified and skilled workforce in the region. As we can see, there are many incentives from returners into the region and also from newcomers, which are connected very wide. And the rural-urban linkages, this building of business cooperations and networks around Austria and Europe, but also the rural amenities and the urban amenities are very important for both for the visitors and for the business people in the region. Okay, and the last slide, Sophie.
Yes, and we hope that these examples were inspiring, and we want to finish with a quote from Harald Welzer. He wrote an essay called "Knowledge is Overrated. Sustainability transformation is a matter of practice." And he calls examples like this experiments in tangible utopia. Mm-hmm. And he says, this is why it's not about a big transformation, but rather a modular project consisting of many small transformations that ideally work together and form concrete utopias. He calls them experiments in concrete utopia. They are convincing, not by the fact that it would be nice if they existed, but rather by the fact that they do exist, that one can look at them, try them out, experience them. Such laboratories of future economic activity and life have the great advantage of clarity. So, thank you. And yes, this is the Alm when it comes together with a Traun, and I think this is also a good example. If many rivers flow together, there is some mixtures. So thank you.
Thank you. That was great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sophie, Theresia. That was lovely, and yeah, just such lovely pictures as well, and inspiration because it's so such a powerful example. So carrying on in the spirit of just at the moment asking for questions of clarification, we'll just give people a moment to ask for clarification before moving on. I can see no hands or any gestures. So next up is Jitendra. So I'm hoping that that's all looking good at his end, and we'll just give him a moment.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. I'll share my screen. My screen now.
I can see you. I can't see your screen at the moment.
Yeah. It's visible?
Here it comes.
Yeah. Yes. So good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jitendra. I'm working with German International Corporation. I'm based out of Mumbai, India. So I will be presenting what we are working with the state government here in one of the state government and the National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development of India. So this is the title is Building Regional Circular Economy to Address the Climate Issues in Maharashtra. So GIZ through its ProSoil project working in 7 countries to improve the soil fertility and soil quality. India is one of them, and most of the other countries are from the African continent. Yeah, basically we work with the 2 states. You can see the size of the state. Next slide, I will present the scales. Like Indian states are almost bigger than in European countries. So we work with many stakeholders. Mostly we work with the government departments, including the banks, including the state government. We working with the extension services. We working with the urban local bodies. We working with some research institutes, and obviously with the NGOs, local NGOs, farmers, and cities. This our circular economy concept is based on the urban and rural nexus of organic waste. Where we're working in Maharashtra, overall the urbanization is around 50 to 60%, and the waste management is a bigger challenge there. So here I'm talking about the organic waste streams, which is food, kitchen waste, or the waste from the hotels, big kitchens, and so this waste, what we believe that it's coming from the agriculture areas, food and other material coming to the urban areas. In whatever is consumed, leftover is converted into waste, and the waste management has been now picked up in the Indian cities through the Swachh Bharat mission, which is a clean mission, Clean India mission started in 2016. And on the other hand, with intense cultivation, the land degradation is the biggest challenge in Indian agriculture, and also the availability of the organic manure in the villages is also limited. Initially, there was a practice. Every farmer was having his own cattle he used for the farming, and there was the farm-made manure available. But now the availability of the organic matter is very limited in Indian villages. So they really need a good source of organic matter, basically a carbon source, depleting to manage the depletion of carbon. So this city compost developed from the organic waste streams is one of the good source of carbon and nitrogen and other nutrients, which also improves the soil fertility and biodiversity. So we try to close this loop, like vegetables, organic material coming from the villages to the urban areas, and then we're trying to sending back in the form of compost to the agriculture. And around the city compost, we are developing business models. So we have developed some business models and how this compost can be produced, quality compost can be produced and sold to the farmers. Farmers can then use, and how this business can be developed for the farmers or the farmer communities, so they can get benefited from this concept of circular economy. So coming back to the regional context, so we are working in the Maharashtra. Maharashtra is one of the second largest state in terms of the area and the population also in India. So you can see the comparison is almost equivalent to size of the Germany. And there are around 400 urban local bodies in the Maharashtra. So these 400 urban local bodies are basically managed by the state urban development department. So all the urban local bodies are having the waste management facilities now. And in India, the focus of waste management is mainly on the segregation. So we encourage cities to produce compost from the segregated waste basically. So you can see the potential. There is around 10,000 to 11,000 tons per day of wet waste is generated. And roughly we calculate 10 to 15% it can compost. Around 1,000 to 1,500 tons of compost can be generated every day in the Maharashtra itself. So these are these yellow dots. You can see the spread of the urban local body and the state. And apart from this urbanization, the remaining area of Maharashtra is highly agricultural rich state. It's one of the highly agricultural state in India. So it grows variety of crops from like grapes, sugarcane, potatoes, tomatoes, one of the highly agricultural states. So demand for compost is also very high in Maharashtra. But as I mentioned earlier, the source of organic compost is very limited in agriculture area. So we were supporting them to develop this stream of compost, which can be made available to the farmers. So these business models are based around this compost, city compost. So state government has its own brand, Harit Mahacity Compost, for the compost produced by the cities. So this brand is given to only those cities which follow the norms of the compost production, like only wet waste to be used to avoid the contamination of heavy metals, any impurities to the compost. Then city has to do the regular testing of the compost sample in government laboratories as per the prescribed norms of the compost quality and parameters. And based on this certification only, cities can use this brand as a Harit brand for selling their compost. So once cities are authorized to use this brand, so farmers are also reliable this compost is of good quality, and this compost get good market value also. So what we encourage cities to produce good quality compost, and then only can go to the farmers. I can explain here the potential of this business. Presently, the compost production is around 50,000 tons per year in the entire state, and which is ultimately used by all the farmers. So as per our estimate, the potential is around 350,000 tons per year. And the annual business potential is around 20 million euros. So you can imagine, because nowadays this compost is being produced, but the system is not streamlined. The quality is also not, it was not focused, but now the system is getting streamlined. And this compost then will be used for the degraded soil. Around 148 million hectare soils in Maharashtra are degraded. So this compost will help in improving the soil carbon. And also this will address the issue of non-availability of organic matters. So I will explain the term FPO, the Farmer Producer Organizations. In India, the National Bank for Agriculture Development promotes this farmers group. These are the group of farmers from villages, nearby villages. They form a company, and this farmers group then they do business of this farm of agriculture inputs, agriculture produce. So through these business models, we promoting this farmer producer organization to use the city compost, and then they can do it marketing, and business can be generated for the farmers also. So we really encourage this farmers group to take up these businesses and sell the compost to the farmers. Because being this farmer producer organization involved, the compost, the transportation costs, the quantities are managed. So instead of managing the individual farmer, the bringing the compost, this farmer producer organization can stock the compost at their warehouses and then sell to the individual farmers. So it will be a win-win situation for the farmers, and urban local bodies don't have to go for the each and individual farmer for selling the compost, so that they can have the deal with the farmer producer. So we have developed this model. Farmer producer organizations will purchase compost from urban local bodies, and then they will distribute to the farmers for their as per their requirement. How we have supported this initiative. So we have initially we have supported the state for developing policies, and also giving out some incentives to the producers like urban local bodies, because instead unless and until we have a good quality product, nobody will come forward to buy that. So what we've initially supported state for developing a compost plants at each urban local body, and then the quality of the compost to be maintained. We develop standard operating procedures for the officials, so how the compost to be produced. So different methods we teach them, and then based on this SOP, they are producing the compost. Then we come up with the business models. The business models are like 3-4 different types of business models we have developed. One model is like for farmer producer organization. One model is for the individual farmers. One for the ULB themselves do the marketing of the compost. There are big fertilizer companies also in India. They are also involved in this business model. So we have developed 3-4 business models, and then we are these are implemented. Then to promote this compost also, because farmers only believe if they see the results, because we cannot every time they cannot taste the product and then wait for the 1 year to get the result. So we have developed some demo plots also for farmers. We organized the visits for the farmers to the compost plant, to demo plots. We had a tie-up with the research institute, agriculture institutes in Maharashtra. So farmers can go there, they can see the results of the compost. And then obviously with this lot of carbon we are adding to the soil, we are also monitoring this climate angle also. also. And then in future also, we are working on development of biochar and mixing with compost. So value-added products will be developed. So we, across these 5-6 pillars, we are working, and with all the stakeholders I mentioned already, with research institutes, with fertilizer companies, with urban local bodies, with all these entities we are dealing. And then we, each, as per requirement, we are supporting at each of the aspects. So the compost, city compost is produced from the organic wet waste in the city. So it always, there is a perception, the quality of the compost. So we strongly focus on the quality of the compost. So we have, there is a very good mechanism has been established. Good quality compost will go to the farmers. No compost with the impurities or the heavy metal will not go. So we had appointed research institutes to stage the compost sample, how to control the contamination, what are the parameters are developed. The main focus given to the segregation of waste at city level. So only wet waste is used, segregated waste is used for the compost production. And then this Harit brand has developed, so batch-wise testing. So these are some initiatives taken for the maintaining the quality of the compost to convince the farmer the compost quality is good. So you can see the compost plant where the compost is bagged. So each compost bag has all the parameter mentioned on that. So farmers can see what are the parameter, what quality of compost is. This is an example of one of the demo plot we have developed with some farmers. It's a potato demo plot. So you can easily see the difference. Like there is almost 15% increase in the yield, and the quality of the product also was very good. So this, what happened when we had these trials, so many farmers were coming and seeing, and at the end, they got good rate compared to other farmers, nearby farmers. So, and the quality of the soil, even the second crop also benefited with the compost. So, such we did a lot of such demo plots and packages for the farmers, so to convince them. So the compost demand has been increased substantially now. So there is very high demand for this compost, and this is based on the real evidences. So, as in India and everywhere, the farmers are believing on seeing the results. So we show them this result. We are organized exposure visits, everything. So there's a high demand. So now what we are doing for the scale up, so we started with like 10, 15 ULB. So now we have this scaled up to entire state, and with research inputs, and we are developing some other products also like biochar. There is a lot of agriculture waste also generated, from which we are planning to develop a biochar, which will be then mixed with the city compost, mature with the city compost. It will be mixed because it will be additional source of the carbon. So that product also we are developing and being said. So in another session in the morning, I presented our Harit Ticker, the digital platform. We have developed a digital platform for marketing and sale of this city compost, because as I explained, the entire state, the ULB, the producers are spread across the state. So when farmers require compost, it's very difficult for a farmer or a farmer producer organization to find the compost producer, the stock, the quality of the compost. So we have developed a digital application. It's a blockchain-based application we call Harit Ticker. So all producer of the compost are registered on the app. So what they can, there is a provision, all producer will update the data about available of stock, the rate of the compost, the quality certificate of the compost, the process they followed for the composting, the ULB, what ULB are extra care ULB has taken for the quality of the compost. And then any farmer or any farmer producer organization just go to the app and just take whatever, he can check the nearby area where compost is available, at what quality, at what rate. So this digital solution bridge the gap between the producer and consumers. So nobody has to go and inquire the compost. So with one click, they can find wherever the compost available, at what quality and what rate. So we did a lot of initiatives for capacity building also. Like to produce a good quality compost, we need a good training and capacity building of the field people. Those they are involved in the production. So we focus on self-help group, women groups, the people working in the cities, those like we call it the rack picker. So we had even the ULB officials. So a lot of capacity building program organized, guidelines are developed, standard operating procedures for the production of the compost. And then again, this climate adaptation and mitigation benefit, we are also now working on that, how we can measure the carbon sequestration hasn't happened, and then how these compost producers and farmers can get benefit at a larger scale. At a state level, we are now trying for the whole carbon markets also. So next year, now we have planned for that. So how much compost will be used and how much carbon has been sequestered. So we will check with that also. So based on this now, I already mentioned there is a huge potential. There are a lot of opportunities for this business around circular economy. The product is composed around 20 million euros business potential is there at present. So if it is tapped, at least 50% is tapped, that will be benefit will be handed over to the farmers or the ULPs or the farmer producers. So extension now we are working with the other countries also like Tunisia. So they are also interested because through this ProSoil GIZ, because we have opportunity to work with the many other countries. So we are extending our this. They have visited our country, and through Harit Ticker we are scaling up this entire business and the circularity. Carbon market, we are now planning to access the carbon market because a lot of carbon has been sequestered through this compost and nobody has tapped that market. That benefit will also be extended to farmer produce organizations. And we are again working with the other government projects and government schemes, how these business models can be upscaled and further. And this is one of the new business stream for farmer produce organization because they are also struggling for the marketing, promotion, and establishing their business. So we are developing new products also like biochar, phosphate-rich organic matter, and terra preta by mixing biochar with the compost. And this will also, everything will be then added on the Harit Ticker. And then again, we have a lot of partnership opportunity at national and international level. The short presentation, and I would like to request for any feedback or any questions for any.
Thank you, Chechindra. That was great. Thank you very much. I love that. Thank you. And that was just fascinating to see so many themes in the same as we've already been discussing, and so many that are so different, and also a really good reminder of the difference in scale. As you say, Maharashtra is the size of Germany, and yeah, it gives us some thoughts. And also, from my perspective, Maharashtra has a special place in my heart. Haven't been there for a long time, but it was where I learned that what living from agriculture really means to people. So that was fantastic. Thank you very much. Any questions of clarification? We'll hold on to big questions to the end. I can't see any questions of clarification. So we're going to move on to Yolanda, who hopefully has got all the control she needs. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I can hope I will have some. Yeah, thank you. Well, I hope I can keep everybody's attention at the end of this long day already with very interesting presentations and discussions, but let's give it a try. My presentation is about the Metropolitan region of Amsterdam on circular economy, and my name is Jolanda Musson. I'm civil servant working at the city of Almere, which is part of this region. But I'm working now in the role of program manager on circular economy. Next slide, please. First, I will give a short introduction on this region. I will tell about its ambition. I will explain the strategies to enhance circular economic activities. I will sum up, I will give some observations on these strategies. And then finally, I would like to give some comments on the questions for this session. Next slide, please. This metropolitan region of Amsterdam comprises about 33 different municipalities, very much different in size, and 2 provinces. So altogether, quite an amount of authorities, and of course, there's an agreement on its governance, how to deal with this. Well, looking at the map, it is clear that this region can be seen as an example of cooperation between rural and urban communities, with Amsterdam at its core as most important central city. Next slide, please. Now, some figures, quite another scale as we had seen from Jitendra about the region in India. It has some 2.5 million people to live in this area. And before the COVID crisis and its economic impact, also about 1.5 million jobs. It is confirmed by all local authorities that cooperation on the scale of this region makes sense because of mutual dependencies, especially in the domains of economic activities, including agriculture, especially also on job market, mobility infrastructure, and for instance, rural areas and municipalities around Amsterdam are much needed for housing. Consequently, many of the challenges facing this region require a regional approach. Next slide, please. It is the overall ambition to become an international top region with a high quality of life. However, we are facing urgent and complex challenges, not in the least increased by the pandemic and the economic crisis as a result. These challenges put pressure on this ambition, the quality of life, and in turn also on the level of welfare and well-being of those who live and work in this region. To respond appropriately to these challenges with a long-term perspective, the agenda of this region has two guiding principles. To go on the future, to develop a future-proof, but also a well-balanced region. Well, this overall ambition has been translated in the following sub-ambitions. One is to pursue a resilient, inclusive, and green economy. Second, to build and develop housing with the needs in mind of its residents and to, by doing so, strengthen the quality of life within the entire region. And third, to accelerate a sustainable mobility system. Such challenges can't be done by public authorities alone. Collaborating with other stakeholders in different kinds of partnerships is important, of course, and stakeholders like business communities, civil society, knowledge institutions, energy and water authorities, social entrepreneurs, and of course the residents. Within this region, the Amsterdam Economic Board was established to improve this network on ecosystem between the business communities, knowledge institutes, and public organizations. For example, by brokering between these actors to create new markets, also in the field of circular economy. I personally am strongly convinced that these ecosystems on different levels of government and across different sectors of the economy, together with all relevant stakeholders, are essential to make the movement from local business models to regional transition. And I will illustrate this later on. Moreover, the city of Amsterdam has a front-runner role by having adopted the model of the donut economy, introduced by Kate Raworth. And this model shows you to think different, not only about circular use of materials, but also to think different about ways of consuming and producing with a positive impact on people and planet. And we hope this will set an inspiring example also for the other municipalities. Now, because of the recent economic crisis, the aldermen and provincial executives on sustainability, but also on economy, together with the Amsterdam Economic Board, decided to develop green deals on regional level in pursuing and accelerate economic recovery and at the same time realizing sustainable goals. The first proposals for these green deals will be presented on the 2nd of December. So we are still negotiating on these and preparing these, but I will tell something about it. Next slide, please. Now, our program on circular economy, which is to contribute to this ambition on having a green economy. In 2018, the different authorities within this region decided to launch a program on circular economy. This program employs strategies for which cooperation on the regional scale is needed. This year we updated its central motive. Stop thinking about and aiming for sustainability as something important but limited to pilot projects, and start thinking about and acting for sustainability as common sense in all different domains. This program focuses now on 3 main strategies, which consider the sphere of influence you can have as local authorities. One is by circular procurement. The second strategy is enhancing the circularity in 5 value chains: textile, plastic, building materials, bio or organic materials, and diapers. And the third strategy is on circular spatial development. I will explain each with some examples. Next slide, please. By choosing for circular procurement, local authorities are setting an example and, of course, sending a strong signal to the market. In 2018, all different 33 authorities signed an agreement to strive for 10% circular procurement in 2022 and 50% in 2025. Next slide, please. Meanwhile, a roadmap has been developed as a hands-on tool for all authorities to implement circular procurement within their own organizations. And this roadmap, by the way, is also available in English. In 2019, on the first Sustainability Summit, Alderman agreed to develop guidelines for 5 procurement packages. In the field of facility management, catering and office furniture, and in the field of public space, asphalt and concrete products, and traffic signs. Next slide, please. During the second Sustainability Summit this year, guidelines were presented for these packages as a result. And personally, I'm very proud that we could present these guidelines, taking in mind the environmental impact it has, especially looking at asphalt and concrete. In case of traffic signs, some of the municipalities even are now preparing a first circular procurement together. And of course, good practice is already available among some of the municipalities and provinces of important sources and inspiration for these now shared guidelines. Next slide, please. Now, in addition to this strategy of local authorities, a Green Deal on circular procurement is prepared and is still negotiated on, in which these agreements by local authorities are complemented by agreements on circular procurement by business organizations and also knowledge institutes. Altogether, this means that the market in different economic branches are strongly incentivized to invest in circular solutions. Bear in mind that the local authorities on their own together spend about 4 billion on procurement each day. So this is, can have quite an impact. So the choice for circular procurement also by other stakeholders, to our opinion, has a potential strong contribution on the movement to a really regional transition, looking at circular economy. By doing so, we also exchange knowledge and guidelines, which are developed by the Amsterdam Economic Board, buyer groups on national level, and in some cases also participate in them. On international level, we participate in the ACR working group on circular procurement, and the city of Haarlem, also part of this region, is coordinator Urban Agenda Partnership on innovative and responsible public procurement. So exchange of experiences on national and international level is of importance. Now, next sheet, please. Now, the second strategy, enhancing circularity in different value chains. Starting point of thinking, and this was also shown in the presentation here before, is that local authorities are owners of these materials in 2 ways. Firstly, because of the obligation to collect household waste, and secondly, because of the maintenance of the public space and public real estate. Now, the aim is to process these materials into new products with added value by creating relevant ecosystems and by getting value chains closed. Local governments are aware this means they are an important partner to make these value chains possible. Next slide, please. First example about textiles. Also, of course, the presentations of Hamburg were very interesting for me to hear, and also beautiful examples of this. The Metropolitan region of Amsterdam annually collects more than 35 million kilograms of household textiles, and almost 2/3 of it is incinerated. And we all know how wasteful the textile industry is. Therefore, the Amsterdam metropolitan area has started a wide collaboration with all sorts of organizations in the textile value chain, from retailers to collectors, sorters, consumers, etc. Local governments undertake now 2 actions. One is being launch a customer through circular procurement by buying clothing with more recycled content. And second, to connect collecting with sorting and upcycling of textile. In our region, we work on a large-scale fiber sorting textiles and making sure these fibers can be reused in new textile. Now, this strategy is strengthened by a proposal for a Green Deal on circular textile. This Green Deal will set the ambition of 25% circular textile in 2025. And it was estimated by research that textile and fashion represent approximately 70,000 jobs in the region. Business organizations, civic society, and knowledge institutes are invited to complement these activities by local authorities, by stimulating innovation in reclaiming basic materials from non-wearable clothing, fashion companies by taking responsibility in collecting and reselling wearable clothes, and by committing themselves, that this is also very important, to circular design. In general, by setting up maintenance and repair shops, and by introducing these concepts, and knowledge institutes by developing training programs to work on skills necessary in circular design or redesign, repair, and technology in reclaiming yarns. Okay, this was the example on textiles. Next slide, please. Because of the importance of rural areas, also in this region, is also about organic or biomaterials and more specific food. In this case, some of the regional authorities, together with knowledge institution branch organizations, adopted an action plan with the aim to establish a sustainable circular food system. All kinds of projects and activities have been started to prevent food waste, reclaim basic materials from food waste, to improve shorter food chains. Well, one of the presentations was also about this. To prevent plastic as packing material and to stimulate circular agriculture. Well, this ambition and all these activities are bundled together on a special platform called Food Connects. Next slide, please. The third strategy is about circular spatial planning. This is a new one. In January this year, we started a 3-year regional learning program on circular building. Each participant, and there are 9 different municipalities as a participant in this, put forward a case of circular building to be audited and then discussed. At the start, those responsible for housing within our municipalities were not so enthusiastic and argued that circular building will result in delays and extra costs. In response, it was agreed upon that this learning program provide evidence that circular building reversibly can contribute not only to speed up building, but also to affordable building costs. And this all thinking led to a proposal, and this is, to my opinion, a very exciting one, to develop a Green Deal with all stakeholders involved to make a transition on circular building on a larger scale, with the ambition to have 20% circular new built houses in 2025. Frontrunners are very important. Frontrunners in construction and building are aware this means a change in thinking about the whole technology in construction building, especially in the Netherlands. It means transition from building on the construction site to building in a factory site and to assemble on location. This makes a circular use of materials possible on a larger industrial scale and to have a cleaner and energy-efficient production and transport. As a first step, it is recently decided to build wooden houses industrially. We have found an investor who is ready to finance this production site of wooden modules. 2 municipalities have declared to be prepared to provide all the facilities needed to realize this kind of building, including sites for a production forest. It is estimated this will deliver about 12,000 new jobs. It is my personal opinion that next to wood, non-recyclable plastics, or so-called mixed plastics, would be a potential source for building by assembling modules also. This plastic category is another example of a growing waste material for which we are seeking solutions to prevent from being incinerated, similar to textile. And then there are examples of all sorts of materials that can be used as an isolation material, like jeans or textile, roadside grass or agricultural waste. Enough examples for which scale is important to have investors prepared to make application of these materials common in building. And the effect that 240,000 houses are to be built in this region the next 10 years, this provides, of course, potential high opportunities. We hope to share all the experiences so far at the International Horticultural Expo Floriade in 2022, which will take place in Almere with the theme Growing Green Cities. Next slide, please. Some observations can be done based on the experience so far working on these strategies. First, within the organizations of the municipalities, transition to circular economy also means a transition within their own organization. For instance, circular procurement asks for a change in procurement procedure with more room for innovation, of course. A change in how to organize these kinds of tenders, a change in financial frameworks, looking at life cycle costs, and development of necessary skills and competence. So it is important for management to be aware of this and to create the right conditions. Enough scale is necessary for business organizations to invest in circular innovations and solutions. So cooperation along the strategies mentioned with all the local authorities is an important condition. Next, all strategies are dependent on the condition of creating ecosystems, as I mentioned. Another important condition is the need for information and digitization. For example, the transition to circular economy in building and construction has an impact on all parts of the chain, from production of materials and construction elements to use and reuse, to demolition and to the processing of demolition waste. So digitization and the use of integrated data platforms are important prerequisites to streamline and accelerate collaboration and communication between all parties in the different phases of buildings. To realize this, government at all levels need to set standards and regulations. And we experienced all the organizations, all the markets is asking for this. And at last, it's a difficult issue to tackle, to monitor the effects on circular economy in the sense of reduction of the use of virgin materials. The growth of circular economic activities and circular jobs is a real challenge. Also, this needs a learning path. Now, I come to a short summary. The next slide, please. To sum up, the ambition of this region is a resilient, inclusive, and green economy with a central motive to integrate sustainability in all different domains. This region has chosen for 3 main strategies: circular procurement, enhancing the circularity in value chains, and circular spatial planning. This regional transition requires cooperation within ecosystems. And in order to accelerate on this region, together with the Amsterdam Economic Board, are now preparing Green Deals, sustainable economic recovery. And at last, we learned a lot, but much more needs to be done. Now, I think this presentation already lasted for 15 minutes at least. So I can end my presentation now and leave out my comment on the questions for this session, or I can give on with giving my comments. What would you prefer?
I think, Yolanda, we're going to have to ask people for questions now, but thank you so much. That was great. Really enjoyed that. And yeah, I mean, you weren't the only person to go over time, so please don't feel too worried. What I'd say to people is that I'm very conscious that we have a live stream going on and we have many more people watching than actually have necessarily seen all of these presentations. So one, where were you earlier? But if you saw the end of this group, go back to the beginning and you will see how all of these presentations fit together and how they speak to one another, which I think is great. So thank you very much to all the presenters for that, as everybody spoke to each other's presentations very nicely. And there are some amazing themes that develop all through this, from the importance of textiles, the importance of closing loops, of including the excluded. I'd have to say also that, you know, the important role of women as social innovators that is so missing from so much of the discussion of circularity, which tends to get all macho and about engineering if we're not too careful. So that's just brilliant. So Dan, how much time do we have left?
5 minutes, Matt.
5 minutes. Okay, so brief questions or overall comments. What I'd say is stick your hand in the air like you just don't care. Anybody sticking their hand up there, Dan?
Yeah.
Yep. Whoever the yep was, carry on.
I wanted to ask Yolanda, how long will be the period to implement this circular economy in the Amsterdam region, in the Metropolitan region?
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned in my presentation, this program started in 2018, when just after the elections had finished in 2018. Now this program will go on till 2022. Till the next elections will be held in 2022, and then the next group of aldermen will decide how to go on.
Okay, only 4 years. It's a political election period. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Any other questions, overarching questions? Just looking along the screens. That's what I'm doing. Dan.
in the absence of anyone else, I'll just make one very, very quick observation that's really been clear from everybody's presentations today, which is that there seems to be a need in the development of circular economic approaches for some quite strong municipal leadership, but also cooperation across different sectors. And I think that's come out really, really clearly. One of the risks maybe is that where that is absent, and I can think of an example from our own area in Gloucestershire in England, where voluntary approaches for change are being piloted. For example, in the building trade, we have a very nice scheme called Building with Nature, but it's a voluntary scheme, and I think we're seeing a much slower take up of this because it's it's sort of a persuasive tool rather than being grounded in strong, municipally led but cooperatively developed circular progress. So thanks so much, everyone.
Okay, I think we're probably running out of time here. Now, obviously, if we were meeting in person, what I'd suggest is we all went down the pub and had a traditional conference evening of drinking and dancing, and yet again, I'd have to carry Dan home. But unfortunately, we can't do that. So let's hope that in not too distant a future, we get to meet up somewhere, somehow, and actually have more of a conversation about this and sort of be able to have a chance to get into the details and really understand this. But this has been such a fascinating gathering of people. I think it's been so exciting about how it has all woven in together. We deliberately structured this from the very micro examples at the beginning all the way through up to regional approaches, so we can see that circularity has a place in all of those levels, and that also, business and municipalities have to be partners in this. And by business, we mean business in its full variety, not just the profit maximization that has got us to the parlous position that we're currently in. But I'm so excited to see places finding ways out of that, and that fills me with great hope. So thank you very much for your participation and attendance this afternoon. Look after yourselves, especially at the moment, and I hope that we'll all see each other somewhere in the near future. So thank you very much for your presentation and your presence. So give each other a wave in this virtual.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Let's try to say hello. I'm having a test. Aaron.
Hi.
Hi, Grace.
Hello, Grace. Hello, Aaron. Good to see you. Hi, Aaron. We're together in one room.
Okay, now we see all of you.
Perfect.
Yeah, we decided to use one microphone and one camera, so it might be hopefully less complicated. Hi, Remy. Nice to see you.
I didn't realize I was muted. Hello, Remy. I can't see you.
I don't know. Can see me now?
Yeah, that's better.
I really understand.
Yes. Now I see you. Yes, indeed.
Oh, Professor Lu is also there. Hello. Nice to meet you. Evgenia, you're also there. Hello.
Yes. Hello, how are you?
Fine, thank you. I have also seen Leah before. Are you Johanna?
Yes. Hello. Nice
Hi.
to meet you.
Where are you? Ah, here you are. Now we also see you. Hi, Leah.
Hello.
We will also have a moderator who's called Arne, who will join us, hopefully.
Okay. I know Grace had given me a great